Hey, sorry everybody, but I seem to have a camera. I didn't click the right camera. See if I can fix that. Crazy. Let's see, edit. Oh, bummer. Okay, everybody, I don't know if I can fix that. Let's see. All right, so I think the best solution, everyone, sorry about this. Hi, Therese from Mexico. Hi, Lee. Hi, Charlie. Oh, you have audio. Well, that's excellent. I suppose we could just go with audio. I don't, let's see. Let me try something else here. Oh, some days that just happens to me. All right, so I think the best solution here is for me to, audio is great, so shall I just go with audio? I mean, I can. I guess you don't need to see me. That's fine. I don't see you guys, so maybe that's fair. No data. Let's see, stream settings. Yes. Okay, let's go. Let's do this then. Thank you very much, everybody. Starting now. All right, that's good enough. So, hi, everybody. Thanks for being here this morning. This is the Oneness Sayings of Jesus and Hell. Peace be with you all. Hi, I'm Peter Panagore, and I have no camera this morning because I clicked the wrong button, MDiv, and welcome to Not Church. No doctrine, no dogma, no camera, no Bravo Sierra. Mysticism, community, connection, experience, not belief. Scripture reinterpreted in the light of my two near-death experiences and multiple mystical experiences. Today, the Oneness Sayings of Jesus and Hell from Matthew and Mark. I'm an international Audible best-selling author of Heaven is Beautiful, How Dying Taught Me That Death is Just the Beginning. I speak mysticism with a Christian accent, with a nod to Charles. The first time I was dead, I was shown that God is beyond religion, beyond form, beyond human understanding, and is love, beauty, goodness, welcome, wholeness, and healing. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Open your mind and open your heart. So let's begin by centering ourselves together. And many of you who attend our Monday or Wednesday groups on centering prayer practice have testified, there's a Christian word for you, have testified to the power and depth of meditation practice when engaging as a group. Today, we're going to begin with centering prayer and end with pranayama, chanting of Om. We've been doing it the other way around for a while, but let's try it this way this time because Not Church is experimental. Group silence first today, group sound second. So, newcomers, welcome to this Not Church Today without a camera. There's a link below which I would be pointing to, and I am pointing to if you could see my hand, Teaching Centering Prayer. So let's center ourselves, let's settle into our seats. Close your eyes, breathing into your belly. Hold a moment. Now, slowly, controlled exhale up to your third eye and hold a moment. Inhale with a focused mind following your breath and inwardly chanting your prayer chant. And then we'll shift to the Om. I join you. Belly breath, fill your lungs. The oneness sayings of Jesus and hell. And yes, there is no camera. Winchester, I couldn't get it on. The oneness sayings of Jesus and hell. Let's begin as you hear these familiar one-sentence scriptures, and please listen with the ear of your heart. Matthew 5:29. It is better for you that one part of your body should perish than for the whole of your body to be thrown into Gehenna. Matthew 5:30. Better for you that one of the parts of your body perish than for your whole body to go into Gehenna. It's almost a repeat. Matthew 18:9. It is better for you to enter life with one eye than with two eyes to be thrown into Gehenna. Mark 9:34. It is better for you to enter life crippled than having your two hands than to go into Gehenna, into the unquenchable fire. Matthew 9:45. It is better for you to enter life lame than having your 2 feet be cast into Gehenna. And Mark 9:47. It is better for you to enter the kingdom of God with one eye than having 2 eyes be cast into Gehenna. So the real Gehenna isn't hell, although the King James Version of the Bible might want you to think so. The Valley of Hinnom, or the Valley of the Children, is where children were burned as sacrifices to the Ammonite god Moloch, and by some of the kings of Judah. Gehenna later was made into a garbage center, into a dump, aiming to discourage a reintroduction of such heinous sacrifices. Pause a moment and imagine that. Gehenna is not Sheol or Hades, the abode of the dead. It was a garbage dump, a sacrificial site. It was a place of immolation, a horror. And I think maybe Jesus may have been using it as a metaphor for suffering in the here and now. Suffering here through reincarnation back into a life that many consider hell on earth. So how does one escape suffering? Jesus only ever speaks out of the direct experience of his mystical life. So let's put those sayings into the first person. It is better for me that one of the parts of my body perish than for the whole of my body to be thrown into Gehenna. It's better for me that one of the parts of my body perish than for the whole of my body to go into Gehenna. There's that repeat. It is better for me to enter life with one eye, make my eye single, and my body will be filled with light. It is better for me to enter life with one eye than with two eyes be thrown into Gehenna. It is better for me to enter life crippled than having my two hands, than to go into Gehenna, into the unquenchable fire. It is better for me to enter life lame than having 2 feet, be cast into Gehenna. It is better for me to enter the higher dimension of the beautiful with one eye than having 2 eyes, be cast into Gehenna. Come to see with a single eye now and find heaven here. Gehenna was that burning dump, a crematorium, and a burial ground outside of Jerusalem, a messy, nasty, contagious, dangerous, and dirty place, a place of suffering. So where is Gehenna? Well, some folks say it's here all around us now, that this is the place. Do you want to come here again? Do you want to enter into this suffering? Do you want to live in this suffering now? Or do you want to escape Gehenna now? Do you want to live in heaven here, beginning here? Then instead of 2 eyes, make your eye single, and your body will be filled with light. How do you experience heaven here? Or do you want to return once again to the karmic wheel and live again here? Jesus says the answer is to make your mind one. End the dual. Just listen to what he says. Again and again he says, lose a part of yourself, lose the duality. 1 hand instead of 2, 1 eye instead of 2, 1 foot instead of 2. Let part of yourself perish. 1 eye is better than 2. 1 hand is better than 2. 1 foot is better than 2. He's talking about cutting off our false selves, our egoic minds, our duality. He's talking about dying before you die so that when you die, you do not die. He's talking about making your eye single so your body will be filled with light. He's talking about the mind. He's not talking about the body. And he's not talking about hell. He's talking about us and our suffering in the here and now. And although such practices to make ourselves single won't stop the suffering we experience in light, it will magnify the beauty and the light inside us so that it sings through us, making heaven among us, inside us, and between us. Listen again with the ear of your heart and tell me in the comments if you hear what I hear. It is better for you that one of the parts of your body perish. It is better for you to enter life with 1 eye. It is better for you to enter life with 1 hand. It is better for you to enter life with 1 foot. You know, I went through hell when I was dead, and I didn't stay there long, and it was my own, and I judged myself guilty, and then I entered into the beauty of love, where my eye was single, my foot was single, my hand was single, my mind and my being and my thingness of my body were all combined into oneness of being. And I brought that back with me. No separation. Jesus told us to make the mind single in order to be transformed, to transform ourselves, to bring the light within us and share it among us and strengthen the heaven in which we live here now. Do you want to be transformed? Then put on the mind of the divine, and be not conformed to the world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind in the singularity of the pre-existent and Christ consciousness. Call it any name you will, that ye may prove, show, and experience what is goodness and acceptableness and the perfection of the will of the goodness itself, of healing and wholeness and well-being now, here. Making your mind single brings heaven into your life. It exposes that you already have one hand and one foot and one eye and one mind. It brings this forward. And this has happened in my own life. And this is why I practice silence. And this is why I practiced Kriya. Because my teachers before me, for centuries, told me the truth of what he was trying to communicate to us. Those who came before him and those who came after him. That our minds, that your mind, that my mind can be completely transformed. And this transformation, well, it doesn't end suffering. It overcomes fears, doubts, and misgivings. It overcomes ourselves, our false selves. Jesus was telling this to us all along. And for how many centuries did we miss it? For how many centuries did we misunderstand the presence of the universal living Christ consciousness, remembered more particularly in the Eastern and Orthodox traditions and not in the West, but found entirely in the temple of the heart, where the oneness of being already exists? The hell I went through in death taught me the value of making my eye single here so that my body keeps filling with light and keeps carving a larger reservoir within myself. And thus I was and am and continue to be transformed interiorly, channeling heaven's peace into my little world, into my little mind, into my little brain, into my little body, right where I live. And now I live in heaven here. I live in heaven here. I longed for it for so many decades, and I discovered that I carried it with me back. The beginning of heaven is here where I am, here where I live with partial knowing, where we all only get partial knowing, but the fullness of the peace of the oneness that he steers us toward will help us know it here and now, in part, and then in death, face to face, in fullness with a capital F. And you can too. We all can. What did he repeat to us over and over again? He was telling you, telling us that you are the light of the world and that heaven is within you and that you can expand this and avoid Gehenna by having a single hand and a single foot and a single eye to find singleness of mind. Even while we are alive, living in this hell of mortality, where suffering competes with beauty and love and beauty dominate our souls. They dominate the goodness of the origin of ourselves, and we merely need to step aside to find it. We merely need to find the singleness inside us. through silence, through whatever technique works for you. But I like silence, and I like Kriya. Don't want to go to hell? Don't want to be here now? Pardon me? Don't want to go to hell? Don't want to be in hell now? Said Jesus. End your duality. And he wasn't telling us to chop off our hands or gouge out our eyes or chop off a foot like that mystic Origen did when he castrated himself. That was a crazy thing for him to do. Jesus was never asking us to do that. He was saying become single-minded. Our bodies have been tossed into Gehenna now. And isn't it better, he asked, to become single-minded than to live in the horrid valley? Why not live in heaven here while you can, before you go? No audio? Let's pray. Make me one. End my duel. Oh, you have good audio. All right. Well, let's go back to it. Maybe your volume is down, friends. Some people have audio and some people don't. So, my friends, let's pray again. Make me one. End my duel. Help me see only you. Amen. So thanks for being here with me today without a camera. If I touched your heart or I made you think or gave you wisdom or helped you understand, then please subscribe. Click the bell to get the alert and click like. Not Church is an independent ministry in the public, in the community, and your support makes this possible. And I thank you for your pledges on Patreon and those gifts at PayPal, and I thank you very much. You can find all that stuff at peterpanagore.love, and if my work inspires you today or gives you hope or courage, then please give what you can to support this mission that's free for most people, for all people really, as we try to raise the mystical voices from the shackles of public shame. So look for the spinning red heart in the middle of your page, and if you need or want to speak to me about your mystical or spiritual life, or need a mentor or a pastor for pastoral care counseling, I have decades of professional experience, so then please book a time with me at peterpanagore.love. So, with all that difficulty today, let's chat. Thank you, Ellen. Powerful, maybe better without video. I didn't get it at first because my ear was hearing more of the confusing gospels until you cleared it up. That's what I was trying to do. I knew that it was going to be confusing, Ellen. That's why I was trying to straighten it out. You make me want to return and reread, says Wanda. Yeah. I posted in the bottom and the links in the description what those scriptures are. And maybe I'll re-record this. But maybe this is a discovery. Maybe the discovery here is that I don't need to be on camera. Wouldn't that be cooler? To have only voice? That would be more equal. I can't see you. John says, is the astral level manifestation occurs instantly. Why is it slower in the physical? Because it's so dense here. Thank you, Christina. John, it's so dense here. It's like we live inside of this, well, it's a density that sort of slows everything down. You could talk about it in terms of vibration. You can talk about it in terms of movement. If, for instance, this world is like in slow motion. It doesn't have the capacity to move at this higher speed to connect with all the rest of the parts of yourself with ease. And why that is, you can figure that out maybe, but for me, I just want to know how to get out of it. And how I get out of it is by turning myself inward and aiming my heart at the divine and trying to open myself up to the higher vibration, as people say. And my astral self is lower than my soul self. There are higher levels beyond astral projection, which is wonderful because I've been out in my astral body a bunch of times in my life, but it is less than the totality of myself. It is still a limited form. And I find that when God plucks me from my body, that I get carried not so much where my will wants me to go, but into the place of where the divine wants to show me what the divine wants me to know. And I often do this in my astral self. Rarely ever in any other form. Maybe, no, I was going to say maybe never, but that's not true. I've been in several forms. That information about Gehenna was new to me. Historical context is amazing. Yeah, it makes all the difference. You know what he's talking about, because he's talking in the context of his time. You know, Jesus isn't picking fruit from another time period. He's picking fruit from where he is, and he's talking about where he is and the metaphors that are available to his people so that they understand him. He wasn't trying to communicate to us. We didn't exist. He's trying to talk to the people using the metaphors of where he is. So is eternal damnation real or not? It is not. It is not eternal. It's not eternal. It's cleansing. It's temporary. It's freeing. It freed me from all of the attachments to the suffering I gave away in my life, which were like mooring blocks on the bottom of the ocean in a harbor, keeping me chained to the world. And it wasn't damnation. I damned myself with the pain I gave away, but the damnation was so minuscule compared to the divinity of love that is infinity itself. Healing is everywhere inside us if we open up to that singleness. Hi, Dorothy. So sweet to spend a moment in the middle of the chaos here. Welcome. Thank you, Dorothy, for saying that. Charlie, thank you for your explanation, Peter. It's looking for the Tao between yin and yang. Same thing with a Taoist accent. Oh my gosh, Charlie, yes. Between the yin and the yang is the way. All over the world, everybody's talking about this thing. Jesus was not special in that regard. John, I'm glad to hear that helped. It never made sense to me, says Jim, that Jesus literally wanted us to gorge out our eyes. Is gorge a mistranslation? No, it's some traditions I've read use the word gorge. Pluck is another word. Pluck out your eye, which basically is gorging. And if your eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away. Yeah, that's another one. Gouge out your eye. Geez, that's why Origen cut off his testicles, because they were causing him trouble. Well, I mean, and he was a mystic, and he was taking this stuff literally. And, we don't know that he actually did that, but that's what's written about him. Yeah, he wasn't ever talking about gorging out your eye. He's talking about making your eye one. But you got to remember, You know, Jesus, as brilliant as he was talking in the context of his culture and of his time and using extreme language to shock his hearers into hearing. Jesus says some pretty extreme things. And if you take them literally, there'd be a lot more blind people walking around. Gouge out your eye, cut off your hand. I know that if I create anything in my imagination, says John, and make sure to feel it and believe it, that which I done, it shall be done here on earth as well. We are what we think. We are what we think. We tell ourselves who we are. We create the world inside us, and that creates the world outside us. We are what we think. Kate, I agree. Peter is wonderful. Oh, Kate, thanks. I didn't know I was going to say that, so I wouldn't have read it out loud, but thank you very much. You meditate while practicing TM. Good, I'm glad. Who's familiar with Neville Goddard's works? I'm sorry, John, I'm not. You're welcome. S. Ritter. I've experienced how quickly things manifest in the astral. I was astonished. The things manifest in the astral because it's travel. It's like the speed of thought. Thought makes a difference, more of a difference there than here because it's less dense. How else can I say that? That there are no things in the way of thinking, and thinking becomes being. And that's actually what happens here. Here too, our thinking becomes our being. It's here too. It's just slower here, slow-mo. I've experienced, I read that one. Jimsy, I wonder what the literalists have to say about that. I literally have no time for literalists. Hi, Peter, I'm late, but I have no picture. Hey, Rob, yeah. So I clicked the wrong camera this morning at the wrong second and no camera. So, but the audio seemed to work pretty well. And I appreciate everybody hanging out with me, even though there was a little bit of trouble there, but mostly because I knew it was going to be a little confusing as I read through those scriptures this morning until I explained them. I didn't know how to do it in any other way. Could you please explain to me what he meant when he said blasphemy against the Holy Spirit is unforgivable in this life and in the next? Yeah, well, when you reject the divine presence here, it's not so much unforgivable by God as it is a preventer for you. When I was dead, myself kept me initially. The suffering I was experiencing in the judgment that I called upon myself as I was judging myself was preventing me from hearing the divine voice, because the blasphemy of my self-attachment, my selfishness was preventing me from experiencing the divine love. It's not so much that you say, some swear of blasphemy. It's the idea that you reject the divine presence here, prevents you from experiencing it. But if you reject it there, maybe you remain in some kind of hell until you welcome the love that is speaking inside you and all around you and reaching a hand to pull you out. So it's ourselves that get in the way. We become the blasphemy. We become the preventer. Does that help? Camera's not working, Rob. That's true, Charlie. Thanks for bringing that in. What are some of tips you can share with us on having more consistent out-of-body experience? I know full breathing exercises are really good. So, John, I'm not in the camp of trying to project myself out of my body. That's great if you want to do that. It's a practice that helps understand the limited nature of yourself. I'm much more interested in keeping myself aimed at the divine so that I'm not trying to make my will my direction, but rather make the will of the divine my direction and allow myself to be taken as opposed to projecting myself out. The more we practice silence, the more we end the duality inside ourselves, the freer the soul becomes from the body, the less attached we are to it. And so I don't practice sort of driving my soul to leave. I practice aiming the whole of myself at the divine, and that shakes my soul loose and allows the divine more readily to pluck me and bring me not where I want to go, but into what places God wants to show me. I hope that helps, John. Peter, I will listen to this later as I have a long drive now. Peace to you, Rob. Drive safely over there in Wales. Good to hear you. You're welcome, John. You're welcome, S. Ritter. You're welcome. Yes, Peter, it seems that separation from the Spirit is the lack of self-forgiveness. Ba-boom, primary feathers. You said it so well. It is the separation from the Spirit that is the lack of self-forgiveness, that is the blasphemy that keeps us from experiencing the divine here and now. And that's the reason it's unforgivable. It's not unforgivable by God. We have to forgive ourselves of this division when we turn to love inside the presence of the divine in heaven. How do I practice silence? Honestly, I would like to know. Thanks so much again, says John. So, hey, thank you, Belinda, for the stars and dove. Silence is practiced by learning to control the mind. And I teach, this is the practice that I practice, that I was taught that I teach, is a practice of centering prayer. And the purpose of centering prayer is to use the tool that tells you who you are, your mind and your language, to use your mind and language to stop the tape loops inside ourselves combined with our breath, so that the language falls away and we're left only with breath and silence. And it's super simple and super easy. Feet on the floor, hands on the lap, eyes closed, no distractions, lights off, phones off, eyes closed. Picking a prayer, picking a word, shorter the better. I am love, or you are peace, or just peace. Breathe the word into your belly like a dragonfly on your palm, open palm, don't grasp it. And breathe it back up to your third eye, and repeat this over and over and over 10,000 times. And every time your mind wanders, bring yourself back to your prayer, and you will find that with practice, the words fall away as you follow your breath. And with the words fall away, and you're left only with your breath, and your mind is silent. And then even the awareness of the breath ceases, and you are in silence. It's in silence that we realize the oneness of being, when we're no longer in the way. Hey, Rebecca, they're down under in Australia on the Gold Coast. I guess if we are separate from love essence, we are separate from the knowing of forgiveness of all. Another baboom. I'm going to read that one again. I guess if we are separate from the love essence, we are separate from the knowing of forgiveness for all. That is so well said. Thank you, Rebecca. Kristen, is this somehow related to humility? It is. My brain has somehow connected the two, and I am not quite getting the connection. It is exactly the connection to humility, because humility is the absence of the false self. True humility is the recognition that you are the light of the world, and that the light is bigger than you. And then humility arises naturally out of this, out of the oneness. When you have a single eye and a single hand and a single foot and a single mind, humility is the natural result of non-attachment to the world and reattachment to the divine, and the bringing forth of heaven inside yourself here and now. And that radiance of oneness not only comes out of you and lives around you and inside you and among the people you're with, but it also brings out this natural humility, because one sees oneself for who one is in comparison to the totality of the divine. So yes, exactly so. Thank you so much for this live addressing this scary topic, says Joan Z. Thank you. Even without the camera, it's going pretty well, everybody. Just let me know, yes? Because maybe we don't need camera, That'd be awfully wonderful for me because, gosh, I like voice on microphone better because then it becomes less about me and more about the divine. Good morning, Violet Lotus from Boston. I'm from Boston. I don't have a Boston accent anymore, but I am from Boston. I'm from Marlborough. So hi there, Violet Lotus. And I know Marlborough is outside of Boston. It's not technically in the greater hub area, but it's in the greater Boston area. Anyway, Brisbane. Oh, thanks, Rebecca. You're in Brisbane. I thought you were on the Gold Coast, but what do I know? I guess I didn't. Thanks for the explanation. You're welcome, John. You love it. No camera needed. Oh my gosh, could I get away with no camera every week? I might do a poll on that this week. Isn't it ironic that we are discouraged from thinking that we are one with the divine? Now, there's a lot of reasons for that, primary feathers. It is considered the opposite of humility, but that is false. It is, yes, it is the opposite of humility because it's the opposite of humility. It is the opposite of humility. And the reasons why we're discouraged from that all have to do with the church. Because when they made Jesus the only begotten Son of God in the councils, they prevented all the rest of us from finding the oneness inside of ourselves that he was teaching. And then around 1054, when the Eastern Byzantine Church split from the Roman Church, the Western Church, the Byzantine Church, the Eastern Orthodox churches kept the idea of the universality of Christ consciousness, and the West completely forgot it, and they do not, for the most part, understand that this is who and what we are, and this universality of the divine consciousness of Christ is already in us. It is who we are. And it brings humility, not because we become God, but because we are one with the infinite nature of our divine self. And in our bodies, we are still teeny tiny in comparison. The amount of light inside us can never be the fullness of the divine self. All we can do is keep expanding with it, because this is the one thing that is unlimited. It's unlike anything in the world, because this thinglessness is abundant and keeps giving as it removes our egoic self. It's this wonderful, wonderful thing. Hi, Ronan. Hi, Peter. Have you ever read A Course in Miracles? I've read some of it, Ronan. I haven't read all of it. I have some exposure to it, but it's small in comparison to most people who study it. It was allegedly channeled by Jesus himself, and the teachers are pretty much the same as yours. Yes, Ronan, that's the crazy thing. Because I haven't read much of it, that's what people tell me. I've read a little bit of it, but that's what people tell me from the Course in Miracles people. Like one of their offices, I'm not sure, somewhere in the Midwest, like St. Louis, they contacted me. Somebody in the office contacted me a couple of years ago, and they're like, oh my God, what you're saying is what is in the Course in Miracles. And then some other people from there's two camps in Course in Miracles, and from the people in the other camp, they contacted me and said the same thing. So not exactly the same, but close. Same here, says Violetus. Outside of Boston and no accent. LOL. I'm the only one in my family without a Boston accent. Mostly because I had vocal training. But when I go back home again, I definitely try to speak Boston as much as I can, just to get a little respect, because Boston's that kind of town. Anyway, I love Boston and Cape Cod. Hard to sort out situation by situation, the diminishment of false self, but not so self-effacing as to countenance mistreatment. That's right, Wanda. It's not about mistreatment. It's not about being meek and mild. It's not about being a doormat or abused. Humility is not about being humiliated. That's not the same thing. Humiliation is very bad when a person humiliates another person. It's a matter of power. Humility, on the other hand, speaks truth to power. Humility defends the weak. Humility expresses love. Humility expresses courage in the face of turmoil and trouble. Humility is not bending under the will of a powerful person who means to harm you. Humility is standing empty, in the presence of the divine, and in that emptiness, finding strength to stand up in the world against forces bent on doing misdeeds or even evil. It's the opposite. You so said it well. Another Yankee listening in. Hey, Linda, you're from Brockton. I'm from Marlboro. Good to have you here, Linda. Brother Ed, hey, Brother Ed, I want to let you know about our brother John Price. If you haven't heard already, John passed away a couple days ago. And so John was a near-death experiencer. He was a clergy person, and like Brother Ed, who's and also a collared person, and me and some others, we were all part of the International Association for Near-Death Studies, and all of us, all of the clergy who are involved with this organization, all come from the same heart. And so prayers and thanksgiving for the life of John, who lives in peace and rests with the divine without suffering anymore, and blessings on his family who are left behind without him. May his love continue to be with them. I don't even know what time it is here. What are we doing on time? Oh, we got time. So, are we in a slow motion reality? So manifestation occurs much slower than it should be. Yes. So that's why faith is your fortune, because it's really done in the imagination. Wow, you get it now. That's right. That is right. It happens in the head that opens the heart, that allows the divine presence to be inside you, which is why silence matters so much. We are complete, and everything within us is perfection in the core of our being, in the ground of our being, and the center of our origin. That connection is unbroken and divinely inspired with light and love in this very moment, even if in the density of this world, this universe, this body, this veil, it remains unperceivable or barely perceivable by many. As Jesus was often saying, the blind lead the blind and they both fall into a pit. What we're trying to do here is see with the single eye and fill ourselves with light so that we're no longer blind to our true nature. Kay Winchester, when Suzanne Geisman, who is a delight, Suzanne Geisman was channeling Jesus at one meeting. She was asked if Jesus dictated the Course in Miracles. The answer was yes. Yeah, so one of the things about the Course in the Miracles and Jesus's voice, the little I know, and the Jesus's voice is recorded in the Gospels, is that Jesus in the Course in Miracles is talking to a 20th century audience and has a different approach. So, I mean, I do that myself when I'm talking to a different audience. Say, for instance, if I'm speaking to an audience of church people, I use a certain language. If I'm speaking to an audience of skeptics, I use a certain language. I address my language the best I can to the audience that's in front of me, and Jesus did the same. So does anybody know the truth about angel numbers? I'm not sure what you mean, John. How many angels can dance on the head of the pin? All of them? None of them, is what I've heard. Good, I don't really know. Good, Becky down east. Oh, hey, Becky down east. Rocky, I was down east just yesterday. Good morning to you. Hey, Victor, I've been practicing the Course's workbook, and the similarity between the focus on the mind in Buddhism, the Course, and Jesus' teaching are quite astonishing. Yes. Yes. Me too. I see the same thing, especially between Buddhism and Jesus' mind in the Gospels and the emptiness of self. Yeah, for sure. Somebody sent me an article this week written by Osho on Buddhism, and it was, I wish I could pull it up right now and read you the whole essay, but it'd take another 40 minutes to do that. But yeah, Buddhism and mindfulness teaching, very similar to Jesus. Checking on the time. There's another book called The Holy Spirit Interpretation of the New Testament that's very helpful to make sense of Jesus' original teachings. That's the Holy Spirit Interpretation of the New Testament. Thanks, Ronan. I'll look that up. It was strangely fitting not to be able to see you talking about casting out an eye today, but I myself prefer to see you during not church as technology permits. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate that. Good morning, Art. No camera this morning. I clicked the wrong button and that was that. So we went ahead because it seemed better to do so. Mosaic Wellness and Education has a very good outline of body training course for $99. Thanks, Mel G. John, Jesus Christ is in us, our wonderful human imagination, even beyond imagination, where imagination ends, where thought ends, the divine begins. Is cutting off my hand equivalent to not being true to myself? Yes. Living for someone else's expectations of you? Yes. But also, it's finding the oneness within you. It's one of the strange after effects of near-death experience for me is that my seeing is my feeling in the world. So when I see light inside someone, I also sense it with my palms, as if I have an eyeball in the center of my palm. So my seeing is my feeling, and they are oneness. There's no separation between them. That's what I'm trying to convey. But also, living for someone else's expectations of you, there's no satisfaction there. You're welcome, Wanda. I've known so many who have suffered religious sanctioned abuse under the guise of enforced humility. Yeah, that's just bravo, Sierra, as we say, because I can't say the other thing on YouTube. And Catherine Safana, Suzanne Geisman. Ben, hey Ben. Peter, when you had your NDE, did you see or understand any logical soul reason for this difficult human experience? And the answer is yes, I did. Can I tell you what it is? No, I cannot. It was far too complicated. I get maybe a 0.01% of my understanding came back with me, but there was no logic by any reasonable human capacity for logic. It's not human logic. It's not that. But I can tell you that it is the divine sensing itself in the world, which is one of the things that happens through us when God knows all of our stories intimately. God experiences with us all of the world and therefore knows the world as we experience it. And as was said to me recently, what's the one thing that unlimited nature can't have? And the answer is limitation. And so the world is an expression to sense limitation. Did you see exactly what your other lives were doing and their purpose, please? I did see my other lives, but I am blind to that now. But the purpose is always the same. The purpose is always to seek the center of myself, to aim at the oneness of my being. It's always the practice. It's always that I can say through all my lives. I see as my course. My course is to aim at the center of myself, to find the divine within me that I am, and my connection to infinity. Examine yourselves, says John, to see whether you are in the faith. Test yourselves. Or do you not realize this about yourselves, that Jesus Christ is in you, unless indeed you fail to meet the test? Where's that from, John? That sounds familiar. S. Ritter. I have seen and heard, and start that sentence over, Peter. I have seen, heard, and felt spirits all through my life, so I know it is all real. That's right. And one of the reasons why we have this forum is for people like us to be able to have the right to speak out in public about the things that we experience that other people then don't see and invalidate our experience. This is a place for validation of mystical experience. And probably you were born that way, S. Ritter. Hey, John, man is all imagination, so is everything. There's a place where imagination ends unless you say, unless it's the divine imagination itself with a capital I. The one way I test myself is to manifest anything I want. By imagining and feeling it, knowing it comes to pass. So, John, yes, that's a good thing. Well, you can manifest what you wish. I try to manifest my selflessness because I'm not who I think I am. I am light itself. And rather than trying to manifest anything in the world, I instead try to manifest heaven within myself and let that be the proof for me and for those around me. Thanks, John. I'm glad you find this to be a lovely channel. I hope you come back again. I hope to see you here. And I super love that you're participating. And I love the open dialogue. I love dialogue. This is great. Reverend Price wasn't an NDEer. Oh, he was, but revealed in his book how he went from non-believer to primary counselor to experiences. Keep sharing your stories. Read Revealing from Heaven. Thanks, Linda. I was a little confused about that. I saw a picture of him the other day, and I thought it said experiencer. But I thought he had told me that he wasn't, and so I went with the picture. But thanks for straightening that out, Linda. He was still a beautiful soul. 13.5, thanks. I knew that story. I'm going to go back and read that, John. Examine yourselves to see whether you are in the faith. I'm going to take that again. Examine yourselves to see whether you are in the faith. Test yourselves. Or do you not realize this is about yourselves, that Christ is in you? 1 Corinthians 13:5. Thanks. Thanks for the answer, Peter. You're welcome, Ben. Zoom soon? Yes. What time is it? Thanks for the reminder. Oh my gosh. Ellen, you're right on top of it. Okay, thanks everybody for coming here. If you want to join us in the Zoom room live where I will have a camera on, you can find that in the description below. Thanks for everybody showing up this morning. Appreciate it. For without the camera, I'm not sure what to do about that for the future with this, but I'm not even sure why I'm saying these words, so I'm going to cancel out now and say I'll see you in a couple of minutes in the Zoom room. Love to you all. Peace be with you all. Peace be with you all. Let's see here. Now I've got to figure out how to go back. I know it's just like it's just one of those days. It's just one of those days. I got to figure out how to end this stream. That's crazy. All right, I'll be there as soon as I can. I'll turn that on as I try to figure out how to end this stream. All right, I'm still trying to end the stream. You guys can start talking to you among yourselves over there on YouTube. I still am trying to stop this stream because there's no button for me to do that. And I know if I don't stop it, it'll just keep running. So you guys, you can talk among yourselves for a minute as I try to figure out how to shut off this stream. Well, not my best day with technology, that's for sure. And that stream is still live. So I would advise not to talk for a moment. I'll turn down my speakers. You guys can talk. My speakers are down. And I'll turn off my mic.